Hello, hope everybody's doing well. This is Rick, N8SDR, and I'm going to go through another video walkthrough using MSHV, developed by Christo, Lima Zulu 2 Hotel Victor. Christo and I have had a few conversations on the forum, and outside of the forum, a few chat conversations. Some recommendations on how to properly set things up, especially pertaining to those of us using Sun Electronics EESDR software for the Sun radios. I am going to be using version V3, which is still an alpha 0.8.1, which is the latest alpha release in this demo and kind of walkthrough. Most of this will apply to version V2 as well, the previous releases. So if you're using another radio besides Expert, you can still use the software, be it a conventional type radio with some sort of interface like a rig blaster or signal adapter or whatever, or a non or flex, whatever. Configurations will be a little bit different in regards to COM ports and audio, so keep that in mind. I'm going to be using TCI interface, the transceiver control interface that's in the software for Sun, and Christo has also set that interface up in MSHV as well. So with that said, let's get over to monitor 1. And I'm going to go through a couple quick things in the options of how to configure some of the settings, some recommendations, and some hints and tips. And then we'll kind of go through a little demo of a few of the things. So after you load the software, again, you can grab the software from his website, limazulu2hotelvictor.org. Really nice page. And the software is available there for download. The current version on his site, I believe, is version 2.57. A 2.58 should be released here probably within the next week or so. I've got a kind of a preview release of that I'm playing around with in here as well. So ignore up here where it's saying FT8TX contest. I have that set for a reason right now, and when we go through the options, I'm going to show you why, and then I'm going to switch it back to regular mode. So that said, let's go into options and kind of walk through configurations. So after you load it, you launch it, you're going to go into options, you're going to go into sound settings. Again, those of us with TCI via the Expert software, you're going to select TCI for your output, TCI for your input. Any of these buffering commands or latency does not matter with TCI. It's all handled through the UDP client, so these have no effect on anything. It doesn't matter if you select the right or left channel for TCI. If you're using virtual audio cabling in Windows or some other sound source in Windows, the buffering should not matter in that either. If I remember per our conversation, the buffering is going to come into a biggest play if you're using the Linux version of this software. So again, TCI output, TCI input for EESDR rigs. Interface control, again with TCI. I've got my port. I've changed my default port in version 3 to 40001. The default port in version 3 is 50001. I've done this to keep my version 2 and version 3 in my software compliant with my third-party applications. Makes it nice and easy. They're all using the same port number. I'm not running them side by side, version 2 and version 3 at the same time, so this seems to work out for me. If you haven't changed the default port, this would be 5000 or 50001 in version 3 if you've not changed the default TCI port, which you can do down here. You have to disable TCI, and then you can right click on the little TCI button and go through and change that port number, and then you would re-enable TCI. I would recommend restarting the software if you do that as well. With TCI, the push to talk method, the PTT method doesn't matter. It's all handled through the UDP. So whatever setting in here is not going to come into play. I am going to be using this on the receiver and transmitter RX1. You can set a second instance of the software up and set that one to RX2. I would suggest using the tuning default rig frequency from mode. If you're using TCI for the Sun rigs, the Expert Electronics rigs, this is very important that you use the constant TX audio frequency for FT8 and FT4. You can change your default in here. The default is 1500. I have set mine to 2000 hertz. Just kind of a preference on my behalf. But again, if you're using TCI, you need to select the use constant TX audio for Expert rigs. This option will be grayed out if this is disconnected. If you're not using TCI, this option is going to be grayed out. So again, TCI, make sure you're using the little radio button and that's enabled. The rest of the settings on this page don't really come into play for now. The only other thing I have set up is the TX Watchdog, which I've set to 3 minutes. If it goes into TX and doesn't come out of TX for 3 minutes, it'll just disconnect. So that's it on that page. The macros page here in the US, we're going to most likely want this for miles. We're in region 2. He's done a very nice job of breaking down certain options and fields in here. If they only apply to specific modes, those modes are listed. So I'm going to kind of go through FT8 today. Not going to get involved in some of these other things, so I don't have to worry about any of this, but this is where you would select your options for reporting grids and serial numbers in the other modes. One other very nice option in this software is those digital modes that are supported via contest. The contests are listed in here. And again, this is kind of why I want to show you something with the FT8DX contest. Why I've got this set for that now. I will change this back to standard mode after I kind of go through and show you this. If you're running field day, from the list here, you can enter your field day exchange, the FTDX contest exchange, whatever you want to do. The macro section is also where you would enter your call sign and your grid locator. Again, you have macro breakouts for different modes. They're listed here. I'm not going to worry about play control, record control, rig and network configuration. If you're going to run the PSK reporter, we've had a conversation about this. He's suggesting not to use the option for TCP UDP protocol. Stick strictly with the UDP protocol. The TCP protocol has some disconnect features that don't work. You actually will get disconnected, and just things don't work out as well as they should. So really recommended setting is to use the UDP for the reporter. I'm not running DX spot settings, but if you were, you could put the server in here, the port, here's your clusters, and then you would just press this to connect to those. I am using log HX, so I'm reporting my contacts, my workstations from the application back over to log HX, and I'm on the same computer, so I'm still using the same loopback connector via my network, which is 127.0.0.1, and that port number. If you're using DXKeeper, here's your options for those. Okay, one thing I wanted to go through and kind of show you and why I picked as an option the FT8DX contest. He's done another very nice feature in here where some of these contests use different frequencies than the said default frequencies for digital modes to kind of prevent mayhem, I guess is a good word, of guys running digital modes and the standard things and things getting confused with people clicking on certain modes or certain contests and not working contests. So what you can do in this is if the frequencies are different than the normal frequency, you would click the default frequencies for FT8DX contest. This will set those frequencies in the application software, whatever offset those are from the original, it's going to set those up for you. So let's see, is it different for, not too far. Hold on. Yeah, it's the same on FT8, but if they were different, you could click this and it would change that offset for you. Okay. And then you've got to go back, out of contest mode, you click the standard default frequencies and you're going to be back in that right frequency mode for those setups. So with that said, let me excuse me. Let me go back and disconnect myself from the FT8DX contest real quick here. It's an options macro, and I'm going to change this back to standard mode. Okay, so I'm back, and you'll see that the contest name is no longer listed up here. So I should be back on my standard frequencies. See, going through the list. Is that the last thing we needed in there? Yes. Okay. So that takes care of the radio and network configuration. Font settings, pretty self-explanatory. This will change your fonts in your program. If you need to make these bigger or smaller, fit your screen or viewing preference for yourself. List fonts for your listings. Change those as well. Text highlight. This will come into play with stations that you've worked previously, stations that are calling you. Your call sign comes up in one of the fields. So if your call, you can change the color that is highlighted as. You just click color and this little palette will pop up and you can drag or set whatever you want to in there. The same for, CQ modes, things like that, calling modes. You'll be able to set those in there all the way through the whole list there. So that's pretty self-explanatory. You just click on color and that palette will pop up and you can set whatever preference you want to in there. And you want to set everything back to how it was, just click the set default colors and that'll all go back. Decode list. Again, these are listed broken down by modes. For FT8, I'm using 2 decode list. You can turn this option off and everything will be in just one list column here. I kind of find that annoying and possibly confusing. Having used some of the other previous digital software, I've always kind of liked being able to see the 2 column mode. So my preference here is to turn that on. So you go into 2 columns. I've got the option set if I double click on a call, which will set this in auto mode. So if I double clicked on this, it would go into auto mode over here. A single click on a call will show the country info. So these guys are all going to come up as US. It's going to tell you where, United States. Wait for another decode cycle here real quick. Bands are really bad today. I don't know if we've had another flare or what, but I haven't checked. But sorry, can't show you anything with a DX call in it right now, at least on 40 meters, which is where I'm tuned at right now. So that's where that option is. Decode List filters. Again, these are for the FT modes. This is where, if you notice, I'm only decoding things that are calling CQ, stations that are calling CQ. That's how I have this set. You can break these down by continents. You can break them down by CQ message only, which is how I have my options set currently. A few other choices in here, and then you've got your custom choices that you can obviously put in here as well. If you do custom choices, you need to make sure you click the enable button here. And then obviously there's some more choices in here. Whatever you do on this page, if you set up any filtering, and you can run multiple filters, if you set any of these up, you need to make sure that this option, use filters, is checked. This must be checked, and then hit apply. If this is unchecked and you've got things checked up here, it's not going to work. It's not going to turn it on. So make sure that use filters is applied. Okay. Your log options, I'm doing logging automatically. So whenever I work something and I get the 73 confirmations on it, it just automatically goes to my log HX program, and that's all synced and logged. If I worked a station before, I'm going to get a little pop-up box. It's going to ask me if I want to work it again, yes or no. And I am logging my start times and my end times. That's just another option in here. Underneath your other options, if you're a DXpedition and you're using the FT8 or FT4 modes, you can turn this off so that you skip that first text message. I do have the recognition of periods turned on, recognize for the various modes here. Again, they're broken out by whichever mode you're using. I'm going to come back to this option here in a minute about this multi-answering. We'll go back to that in just a little bit here. Show hide waterfall, pretty self-explanatory. If you turn this off, your waterfall's gone. You just have the decode in your message page. Same with the widget down here. If you turn this off, this section's going to disappear. If you need more space or you want to make this more compact, you can click up here where it has two-dimensional, one-dimensional, one area, depth-wise. Here's where your gain sliders are for your signal display. I kind of prefer the two. I do have TX confirmations turned on. And then I'm resetting the QSO at the end of working those. I do have the function to turn this when you launch the software that automatically goes into monitor mode. That's down here. Was something else I was going to touch on in oh yeah, okay. Up in the decode list, I do have the option to new decode period clears messages, the message list. So if you notice, when this new decode starts, like this one's already decoded in this session, in this period, when the new decodes come up for the next period, it clears out that list. So I don't have a big list I have to scroll through. Only what's decoded in that period is going to show up in here, along with the way I have my filtering set up for only the CQ calls. All right, so that kind of goes through the options tab. Palette is pretty self-explanatory. It's where you pick your color choices for your waterfall displays. Here's where you would set your modes, your decode options, your threading options for FT8. Here's where you select your band that you want to work with. And you can see the software covers VLF through EHF. Most of us will probably be dealing with the HF, VHF section through 160 through 6 meters for the most part. But again, if you're using the sun and you want to do digital stuff on 2 meters, which is an option in the suns, you have that built in here as well. Language, your self-explanatory, and then your help button. All right, one other quick way to go to filtering. Remember back over here, if I went to options and I went to decode list options and I selected decode list filters, you can also get to that as a quick hotkey. If you double click this pinkish colored gray area here, double click that, it will pop up the decode list. And you can set these on the fly then. Again, make sure whatever you change in here that you select the use filters and apply the changes. So kind of a quick way to get to that area. All right, one thing that seems to come up is guys are going, I'm not decoding as many signals as I am with some of the other software. One thing to watch, by default, you may have this set at, I don't know, let's just say, 150 hertz. This white area where the green line runs from starting to finish, that's the only thing, regardless of what you may see stream down the waterfall on the left or right side of this, that's not going to get decoded. Only the stuff that's in this white area. So you can change that in a couple different ways. You can use the list here, and that's going to be 1500 hertz from wherever your marker is in this area here. Or you can drag these and open them up even further. So I normally 0 to, normally it's kind of my preference here, about 3200, 3300. I'm actually got my receiver bandwidth set at 3.3K. So, make sure that whatever you've got your receiver set, this is going to come into play too. I mean, obviously you can slide this open, but if your receiver bandwidth, let's just say you've got this open at 3200, but you've got your receiver bandwidth set at 2.5 or 2.7. If there's anything above here, it's not going to go through. It's not going to pass the bandwidth there. So make sure that if you're opening this wide, that your receiver's just as wide, if not wider. Okay. Down here is where you adjust your receiver sensitivity, the gain on receive. This is a little low. I'm going to turn the sound up a little bit here too, so I can, again, sorry, probably a bad day to do this. 40 meters is really kind of rough right now. And hopefully when I do this other option here, we can get a few things so I can show you how something works. So you kind of want to get into the green area here, the minus 10 to 0 dB. So let's wait till we start seeing some signals again. You're going to want to slide this up a little bit. You don't want it in the red, obviously, but, you know, somewhere so you're sitting in the green area. Sounds like we're starting to get it through thunderstorm crashes, too. And we've got some storms moving in here later this afternoon, so try to get this out of the way before that mayhem starts. This is where you're going to adjust your output level for your transmit. Very important. I'm going to go through this again real quick. Let me make sure I'm not in an area where I'm going to key up with somebody. Okay. On TCI clients, this is going to, again, deal quickly with EESDR, Sun SDR radios. And this is going to come into version 3. I'm using TCI. My default is mic 2. That's what I use for voice mode. I'm using mic 2. When you click the tune button here, or when this goes into transmit, you will see this change to TCI. I would suggest you put this on mic meter. Bring our software back up here, sorry. Go into tune, and you'll see this change to TCI. Adjust the slider so that you're at your 0 marker slightly a little before this. Stay out of the red. So that's where you adjust that at. Again, that only shows up when it's in transmit mode. So in order to get it in transmit mode, you're either going to have to, you know, start working some station in here or click the tune. Now, sometimes this tune will pop back right away. And that's because you're at the end of a cycle, a period here. So if it pops off right away, just click it again and you'll be in that next cycle. If you notice, if I click this, it's only going to stay in that tune part for, you know, whatever period of time here before it gets kicked back out of that cycle. I'm in tune. Yep. See, it drops back out of there. So that's where you adjust your TCI gain, only when it's in transmit mode, okay? Otherwise, you're going to adjust your gain of your mic level, and you're probably not going to want to do that. So after you get that set, you can obviously switch this back to your output power meter. All right. Typical responses, you know, you can click these over here or let it go in auto mode. So that's where those are. And this is from last station I worked last night. So don't worry about that for right now. Actually, we should be able to, here, we'll clear all those out of here. Okay. So if you're working a single station, this is all fine and dandy. You know, if you're wanting to do stuff just singly on the fly. I wanted to show you another option in here. If you go into options, other options, multi-answering auto-sequential protocol standards for FT8, FT4, Q65. I'm not going to be using DXpedition. I'm not a DXpedition, so I'm going to choose this option. This window will change. You'll see that. Okay. When I start calling somebody, if more than one station answers, it's going to grab that first one and start working him. It's going to put the second station or the third station or however many you have this set to in the queue. The now tab is the station that you're working at the present time. There's a settings tab here at the end. So I've got my queue set up to hold no more than 3 calls. And you can set this up higher. But my feeling about this is if you set this up too high, these guys are going to get tired of waiting and move on and work somebody else, and you may not work them. They may be working somebody else, or they may have left and went to another band or stopped for the day, or band conditions have changed. I would not set this number very high. I think 3's a fairly reasonable number. I mean, you adjust this to what you feel your preferences are. I found that either 2 or 3 seemed to be a good spot for me. I'm only running one time slot, so don't have to worry about this. That's why it's grayed out. Max time. This is the amount of time it's going to spend on a particular call, waiting for a response. You know, let's just say I have this W4 NFK in my queue tab and I'm working him, and he doesn't respond after a minute, and I've got another call, just at, you know, a random call in here. It's going to move to that next call. It's not going to sit here and keep calling him and keep calling him and keep calling him. It's going to time itself out and go, okay, no response. I'm moving to my next call in my queue. So that's what this max time is. Auto sort. These are going to sort things by distance. And you'll see that when we get into, hopefully if we get into multiple people responding when I call CQ, hopefully that you'll get a chance to see this. So the auto sort is going to be by distance. I'm going to try to work my furthest stations first. And then if there's nothing in the queue, it's automatically going to go on a free slot, which means there's nothing in the queue. And that time is, then the next transmit period has come up. I'm going to start calling CQ again. You can change this in here to, you know, CQDX and free messages, whatever. If you do free message, whoops, put this back up on CQ. Make sure that you click the use button. If you do a free message, okay, you'll have to make sure that this will become ungrayed and an option. Make sure you click that. You can clear your queues. You can clear the now tab. All this stuff will be automatic for you once it's working. If you get tired of, you know, trying to work somebody or whatever, and you've got this time set higher, you can clear the now section out of there. So with that said, let's find us a spot here. Oh, by the way, to set your red is actually your transmit. So to set that, you want to move your cursor down underneath here a little bit. And then if you hold down Control on your keyboard and left click of your mouse, you're going to set your transmit frequency. So that's how you set your transmit frequency here. Okay. This locks your transmit and your receive. Locks your transmit to your receive, so your transmit equals your receive frequency. And let's, doesn't look like there's, well, that might be a little close to that guy. Let's go up a little bit. Go up here. All right, so I'm going to initiate calling CQ here. And let me slide this down so I can watch my power meter. Get this out of the way here so I can actually see what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to generate a message, which is going to be calling CQ. And I'm going to turn auto on. So on the next period, I'll go into transmit mode. And if more than one station answers me, it's going to grab the first station. Here we go. We're starting to call CQ. The red line here, this is going to show you what is actually being transmitted. So I am calling CQ. We'll see what happens. And we're calling CQ again. Like I said, the bands are really kind of poor right now. So hopefully I can get one or two stations to pop up in here and you can see how this queue thing works. It's okay, might have somebody answering here. Out. There we go. So there's just this one guy in the queue. And you can see that he's in my now, which is, I'm working this station. If there was another station that would have answered me, he would have been put in the queue here as well, and he would run through this list. So we'll leave it sit here. Once it gets done working him, there's going to be nothing else in the queue, so it's going to go back to automatically calling CQ again. Yeah, I'm running the amplifier a little bit here. About 125, 130 watts. Sorry, the band sucks. So, yeah, 40 watts of drive. I've got it detuned quite a bit. Okay, so we've worked him, I've logged him, it's automatically calling CQ. You'll notice that my transmit frequency up here changes to match my frequency. So I'm below that 1500 mark, so it's going to be negative here. If I was above the 1500 mark, it would come up, would shift. I'd really like to get a couple stations in here so we can see how this works. Again, you'll notice when it's in transmit, it's going to TCI. Looks like we got a couple guys calling on top of one another here. Sounds like it too, a lot of heterodyne. Let's open up or receive a little bit. Again, remember, your receive is going to be where the green line is here. So this white section is your receive bandwidth. If this is narrow, you're limiting your options on receive, okay? We might actually have to move to another band. Okay, we got another one in here. So probably gonna have to move. I don't know how 20 meters is right now. Might have to try that. Which is gonna require me to put you guys on hold for a second, I guess, while I slide over and connect the 20 meter antenna. Just in case I got to do that, let me swing that guy out towards Europe. Hopefully it's going to be a decent area to try. I don't know. 40 meters, I'm on a inverted V. And really probably a bad time to do this video with the way band conditions are right now. Let's see what happens. We'll try calling CQ here a couple more times and see if I could just get so that two stations answered. I could show you how they get queued up. It's really kind of what I want to show you how that happens over here. Looks like my time might be off again too. Try to sync this up. Yeah, we're just going to get these onesies. Come on. Need a couple of you guys to answer me at the same time. Last night I was doing this. Probably should have done this video last night. But I had a pretty good run for a while where I just kind of sat here and let it run in complete zombie mode. Didn't have to touch a thing. Just stacked them up in the queue list and let it run. So I'm not going to switch over to 20 meters. It's getting ready to storm here, and there's going to be lots of static crashes with the beam. So anyways, this will just keep running. Obviously, if there's nothing in the queue, it's going to start, just go back into calling CQ again. If there was stuff in the queue, it would work through the list in the queue and keep moving through that progression. See what happens here one more time. No takers. All right. So here's your bandwidth viewable area. Audio frequency, audio flattening. He suggests to turn this on. So that option is on. This is where you adjust the speed of the waterfall. This shows what mode you're in. I am in auto decode mode, so it's doing this all automatically on decodes. I don't have to manually click the decode list. When you get station that you're working, it's going to show up in here. It should show the locator, possibly the distance. Okay, so we should grab this guy. All right. All right, so hopefully that kind of takes care of this. It touches over a few other things to hints and tips. Again, remember your receive bandwidth is the green line, which is adjustable by either sliding, coming up here and dragging this back and forth on your high end and your low end. You'll see when you hover over that, you'll get the little adjustment option there. Or you can adjust it down here. Wait till I work this guy. I don't want to screw this up. So I'm going to stop calling here. All right. You can adjust it down here. You can notice, watch the green line. You narrow this down. Obviously, that's going to narrow your receive bandwidth. So again, if you're only getting a limited number of decodes, the first thing to check would be to make sure that your receive bandwidth is open, to a reasonable amount. If it's narrow, you're only going to decode what's in that section from the green to the green, from the start to the end here. That's the only thing that's going to get decoded. Regardless of what you may see, let's just say there was something up around 2600 or so coming down. If there's something there and you've only got this set for this section, that's the only thing that's going to get decoded, is this area here. I guess a good way to show that would be here. If I narrow this down, I might have to wait on the next. No, it did do it. So, there's stuff going on up here. It's not going to get decoded. It's not in it's not in the bandwidth for MSHV to do any decoding with. Okay. You actually have to slide this so that this is included in the receive bandwidth. Very important. Make sure you check that. Oh, we do have another one calling. Let's go ahead and answer him. I didn't see him in there before. He must have came in late. So we'll work him, and then I'm going to finish off this video. Hope everybody has a good day, and I hope this has helped clarify a few things and helped you get things set up with this really nice digital package. Well, I guess one other thing we can do here too. We work him. Although I think I did show it in the modes. I know I showed the bands. It does cover a wide variety of bands, you know, the low stuff up through the gigahertz. Let me make sure that this actually logs real quick so I don't mess him up here. I don't want to call CQ. Okay. All right. Modes. MSK. Whoops. You know, here's all your modes, your options in here. So you can see that, you know, some of the other stuff, VHF, UHF modes, those are all available in here. Really a nice package. Done a very, very nice job on it. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully that clarifies a few things, makes things a little easier to understand, shows you where some of those options are and what they do. Again, hope everybody has a great day, and we'll look forward to doing another video here soon. Take care from N8SDR.